I'd like to call to order the December 3rd, 2024 meeting of the regular meeting of the Chino Valley Planning and Zoning Commission. I would like to have Commissioner Switzer say the pledge because it's his last meeting as a commissioner. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, sir. Okay, we're missing one commissioner at this point, but we do have a quorum. And we'll move to item C, which is the consent calendar. Does anybody have anything they want to move off of that, or can we proceed? The minutes were quite extensive. Thank you, town staff, for your hard work. I would entertain a motion.
I make a motion to accept the consent calendar.
I second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion's carried. So we're going to move forward to item D1, CUP 2024-04. This is a request by Ryan Weed on behalf of APS for a conditional use permit to allow for the expansion of an existing APS substation. The property is located at 3011 Jerome Junction, Chino Valley, Arizona. Has anybody on the commission spoke with anybody about this project?
No.
All right. Jessica, how are you?
I'm well, thank you, Chair. How are you?
Good.
Thank you. I hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving as well. Vice Chair, hello, and members of the Commission. Jessica Berrigan again, Development Services Senior Planner. Before you this evening, a request by APS for a conditional use permit to allow for approximately 2 acres of land for the expansion of an existing substation. For context, I'll be showing you a couple slides to show the current site conditions. The first slide shows an aerial view. As you can see here, vicinity. The 2-acre property is generally located. Oh. Sorry for the inconvenience, technical difficulties.
Something's happening.
I see a light.
Okay.
There we go. Yay. Thank you.
Okay, well, we'll start over briefly. As you mentioned, it's a request for a conditional use permit from APS for an existing substation. The property is located approximately a mile east of Highway 89 on the northeast corner of what would be referred to as an extension of Road 4 North. It is called Colorado Way and Jerome Junction. Again, for context, here's a slide. This image is looking towards the northeast corner of Colorado Way and Jerome Junction. As you can see, the town's monument sign on the right of your screen for a visual point of reference, and as well as the directional sign on the left side of the screen. This next slide shows a closer up view of the existing facility. This next shot is image taking eastward, and you can see how the paved road ends there. This final slide to show the existing site conditions is a close-up of the existing facility facade. The wall does reach up to a height of 10 feet. Okay, so the subject falls within an agricultural residential minimum 4-acre zoning district. The property directly to the north and the east of the subject parcel are currently vacant and zoned AR4. The properties on the other direction on all other directions to the south and to the west are likewise vacant. They are zoned BP for business park and I for industrial. Okay, here, so this slide demonstrates the subject site's location in the AR4 zoning district. And for reference point, it is highlighting for you the section 3.7.C.6 of the town's Unified Development Ordinance. I wanted to bring to your attention that a conditional use permit is required for a public utility service use in that district. This slide here demonstrates APS's desire to expand the existing facility in preparation for to serve future community projects. In front of you is the proposed site configuration. This does show the area's existing footprint, wall footprint, and the shaded area is showing the requested expansion. So again, approval of this request would effectuate the existing use and the proposed expansion. This next slide shows, since there is no water, and as you read in your report, a decorative block wall was recommended by staff to be constructed in lieu of the landscaped required buffers on the frontage and on the side yard. These are some concepts that APS has provided to us. And then the following slide here shows a sunburst sign concept. It is an example of the various textures and colors and variations in that designed to provide a more aesthetic appeal to that corner. Since the surrounding properties are primarily owned by the town, a neighborhood meeting was waived, but all properties within a 1,000-foot radius were notified by mail. A public notice sign is also posted on the site, and staff has not received any concerns or opposition of the existing use or the proposed expansion. With that, staff does recommend that the Planning and Zoning Commission forward to Town Council a favorable recommendation of approval for the conditional use permit CUP 2024-04 for approximately 2 acres of land for the expansion of an existing APS substation, subject to the conditions of approval that are found in attachment A. The applicant is here in attendance this evening on behalf of APS. They do not have anything further to add to the presentation, and this does conclude staff's presentation. If you have any questions, I'm available. Thank you.
Does anybody have questions for staff while they're up there?
Is the APS have a representative to speak tonight?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great.
Are we good?
Yep.
We may call you back up.
Thank you.
Okay, is the applicant representative here? Would you care to step up to the microphone and speak? When you step up, please state your name.
Hi, my name is Paul Murphy, project manager.
Yeah, pull the mic up and get it really close or somebody will come yell at us.
How's that?
That's better.
Right.
Thank you.
I'm Paul Murphy, project manager for the project with Cohen Van Loo, and we are the consultant engineer for APS.
Did you want to add anything to the presentation?
No, I don't think so. I think Jessica covered it pretty well based on discussions we had leading up to the CUP submittal. There's really nothing. It's a pretty minor project with the expansion. And like she said, we were willing to forego the landscape for architectural components to make up for the lack of landscaping. But as far as the project itself, I don't really have anything to add.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Anybody have questions for the applicant?
I do. Do you know if the expansion has anything to do with the possible proposed Jerome Junction solar project?
No, this is not related to any solar project at all. This is basically to upgrade equipment, to add more accessibility, more power in the future, addition of a control house to help with that, but it has absolutely no solar relativity at all.
Very good. Thank you.
Sure.
Anybody else? All right, Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we're going to open up the next portion of the meeting for public comments. You'll have 3 minutes to speak on this item only at this point in the meeting. If you step up to the microphone, I'm going to ask you to state your name. I will call. You're supposed to have filled out a speaker request card, which we have one here tonight. So when I call your name, please step up to the microphone, state your name. You have 3 minutes. Be polite, be concise, and don't be repetitive, but with one card, that's probably not a problem. All right, so Mr. Jim Wagner, are you here, sir?
My name's Jim Wagner. I live in unincorporated Maricopa County, or Maricopa. I did live in Maricopa, Yavapai County. My main question, I think he answered, was what the addition is for, because I had the same concerns as Mr. Schweitzer there regarding all the solar companies that are trying to come in. The question was sort of answered in expanding, but my understanding is we had plenty of power for Yavapai County. So there wasn't any specific projects that were mentioned. So I'm curious about that. The open meeting law, they talked about there was about 1,000, only 200,000 were owned by private people in the property within 1,000 feet, I think it was. But they did not invite those people to come to the meetings, if I'm correct. So I guess I have more questions than anything. The 10-foot wall, I don't know where that comes from. My understanding was there's something about landscaping and the lack of water to maintain landscaping, not anything having to do with beauty. But that concerns me in cases of fire. There's not enough, and we want to expand public facilities. I mean, especially if it had anything to do with solar, which I guess it doesn't. Fire department, I'm not sure on this situation. They almost always get a Knox box key for any property. I'm surprised they can't go into an APS facility without APS present. So I have some questions regarding why that's not allowed. And then if there were possibly a fire situation with the water for the landscaping, that would present a problem for the fire department as well. So anyway, more questions than answers I have, but that's what I got.
All right, thank you. Okay, anybody else care to speak? We'll be a little lax with the rules tonight. All right. So we're going to close the public question. Excuse me. I didn't see you.
It's okay. I just second his questions.
Okay.
Stapleton, Yavapai County.
Right, thank you. So we're going to close the public comment part of the meeting. Jessica, would you please step back up to the microphone?
Yes.
So one of the questions was, what is this expansion exactly for? The comment was supposedly Yavapai County has lots of power. I may ask the engineer to step back up to answer that technical question. And then wall height, concern about a fire, and then the no Knox box setup. In our notes we have here, that was explained that it's too dangerous for anybody to go in there without APS personnel, which is kind of out of my purview, but having driven by there, I wouldn't go in there without somebody escorting me. So maybe I should have the representative come up to tackle those questions.
Most of those questions would be with the representative. APS would have more information on that.
Okay, thank you. So let's just kind of take them one at a time. Please go over again the necessity for the expansion. What's the equipment being installed? What's it doing for the power grid, et cetera?
So it's updating what's already there, the existing equipment, more new equipment, more power for the future if needed in that area. I think APS has said that there's a possibility of some area of that being developed.
Is the red light on there? On the
At the
button on
bottom, at the
microphone?
base.
It's on now?
There we
There
go.
we go.
All right. Sorry about that. So basically, it's to upgrade the existing equipment. the addition of a control house, the addition of newer electrical equipment, more efficient equipment, and for future expansion should it happen in the area. And this has nothing to do with solar at all. I know that question has been raised a couple times tonight already. I have nothing to do with the solar portion of this at all. So there's no relativity towards that.
Okay, and then maybe you could explain the necessity for the wall height.
So APS's regulations for wall height is 10-foot minimum. This is considered critical infrastructure by the Department of Homeland Security, and that is their minimum requirement, is a 10-foot high wall. If it was an a fenced facility, it's a 8-foot high with 1 foot of barbed wire at the top. The difference between a wall and a fence is based on the criticality of the substation itself. That I can't speak for. They run it through a system, the size of the substation, what it serves, all that kind of stuff. So the wall that's there now is an existing 10-foot high wall. So they're not making this wall any higher than what's already existing, but it is the minimum APS mandated requirement for
Okay.
a block wall.
The concern was brought up about a fire inside the facility because there's no water out there. Can you possibly go into
Sure.
the technical aspects of fighting an electrical fire?
That I cannot, but what I can address is so this comes up in almost every municipality that APS has a substation expansion or a substation addition. In the fact that the Knox box, they require a Knox box on the outside for the fire department to get in. APS does not allow any outside people to get into the facility unattended. So in the event of that, they need to be there. Because actually, we just had this with the city of Phoenix not too long ago, where the gentleman actually who was on the fire department there said, we don't have the personnel to go in there to fight that without APS people. Our guys are not trained for the electrical fire for the most part. So that is the need for that. They actually have a waiver of some sorts that they ask us to include in with our submittals once that question gets raised about the Knox box.
Okay, so just for folks that aren't familiar with what a Knox box is, on most commercial, in fact, all commercial facilities have a box outside their business or manufacturing plant or whatever that is available for the fire department to open without anybody being there so they can access the building. That's a common building code requirement. And the fact that this area is quite dangerous to go inside without being escorted, it kind of makes sense that, and the fire department agrees with this, if I'm not mistaken, that they don't want to go in there without escorted personnel. Right. Yep. Okay. All right. Any other questions that we have for him while he's up there? All right. Thank you,
Just-
sir.
All right, thank you.
Excuse me.
One comment.
Sure.
When I worked at the VA Medical Center in Leavenworth, so I wasn't a prisoner, we had an electrical fire. And it was in a manhole, two number 4/0 wires, and it flooded, and the fire department came in, and they were gonna hose it in, and we told them to stop because you don't put water on electric.
I do know that much.
Yeah.
Well, I've had the experience.
Right. That's good to know.
Chuck, I do have another question, and it might be for staff. So the renderings of what the new wall and gate might look like, is that gonna come before, will the final rendering come before staff, or will it come before P and Z for approval, or?
Usually staff would look at that, but if the planning commission is interested, we could certainly
Yeah,
bring it
no, I
in
just
front of
wondered
you.
if they were gonna choose, or staff was gonna choose, how that looks,
So the normal process is staff would have input
Correct.
for that, trying to fit in with the surrounding area.
Correct. If you have a preference from what you saw, you can voice it, and that's the direction we'll go.
As far as I'm concerned, it's out there in the middle of nowhere, and the colors that you've picked in, any of them would fit
Yeah.
quite nicely out there.
And
This
that was part of the discussion with Jessica and I over time was we have different examples of different municipalities that we've used stuff. So normally what APS tries to do is make it match the conditions of where they're at. So if they're in a residential development, they try to match any of the theme walls, things like that are around. If they're in like a warehouse district like we see out in the Surprise area in Arizona, they match those colors and stuff. So we try to make it integrate so, you know, you don't want a big white building out in the middle of nowhere and stuff. So once we move forward with construction documents and construction plans, and knowing that Jessica has already explained that they did like the Clarkdale example that we had, we will fine tune that to match up. We will do a graphic representation of that and what that would look like. And that's something we will supply to Jessica even beforehand, before we make an official submittal, just to make sure that that's what they want.
Okay, and then there was a question on lighting out there as part of our paperwork. So you're going to use the dark sky ordinance plus what's out there is just emergency lighting anyways.
That is correct. There will be all emergency lighting. If there's an incident inside the substation, they have to do repairs at night. APS personnel or whomever will bring their own portable lighting for that. So yes, there'll be emergency lighting on the outdoor of the control house building, all down lighting, emergency lighting, and we will follow the dark sky ordinance for that.
All right, thank you. Anybody else have more questions? Thank you, sir.
Okay, you're welcome.
All right, so we're going to close the public portion of the hearing right now, and I would call for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll move to approve conditional use permit CUP 202404 as presented, subject to staff report and information provided during this hearing and the conditions of approval in attachment A.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on this motion? All right, it'll be a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Penn,
Yes.
Commissioner Metters,
Yes.
Commissioner Switzer,
Yes.
Commissioner Zamudio,
Yes.
Vice Chair Pasiak,
Yes.
Chair Merritt.
Yes. So the motion passes unanimously. So we'll move to item E, action items, which apparently we don't have any of, and to item F on staff for any of the pending things that are waiting on council or whatever.
We have nothing. The solar ordinance was what we heard in November. So if we'd had another item, that item would have gone to council and we would report back to you. But since the solar didn't move forward, we have no items to share tonight.
All right, anybody on the commission have anything that they would like to say?
Just wanted to thank you, Chair Merritt, for all the work you do and the commission. Been a pleasure working with you folks and hope to continue with the council working with you and
Thank you, and
keep up the great work.
It's been a pleasure with us, too.
just remember the little people when you move up. All right, the next portion is for the chairman to speak. I will say just something very briefly. Commissioner Switzer's been a real solid portion of our commission up here. We don't always agree on our votes, but we always agree that we've done the best that we can. Looking forward to having him go to town council. I think he's going to be a great addition there, and hope him the best.
Yes.
Okay, so now we come to item F4, which is an opportunity for the public to speak on anything that is not on the agenda tonight. So if you have something you'd like to say, you can step up to the microphone and state your name and follow the rules of the other portion of the meeting. Would anybody like to speak? All right, we'll close that portion, and then we're going to hit our favorite part, a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you. Thank you, staff. Thank you, folks, for coming.
Merry